Hi, everybody. Welcome to Ramblemancy. Technically our first Ramblemancy of 2021, since our
Absolutely.
last one
Yeah.
was a Q&A for Infinite Horizon. So,
Yep.
Yeah,
and I know that the distinction between those is sort of like, but it's,
True.
you know. But yeah, welcome everybody. Koala. Koala's
There's a
just here to
koala?
Koala's just here to roast me always.
Oh.
But hello everybody. Let's see. Let me go down the list because I saw a whole bunch of you. I saw Rose is here. Age of Fit is here. Hello. I saw, of course, Koala Aquabear. Welcome. Karaoke Night 69. Welcome, welcome. Geek Outs. Hello. Good to see you.
These are excellent names.
They truly are.
I love these names.
Let's see. All right. And for those of you who aren't in the chat yet, welcome to you as well. We, as we say often, love our lurkers. So, before we... Rainy, hello. Good to see you. Before we get started, we are joined tonight by Scriv. Scriv, welcome. Welcome to the channel. Yes,
Hello.
that's you. That's you. We're talking
Me? Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah.
We already had some good pre-stream rambles, and I'm excited to just keep that momentum going.
Yeah, me too. I'm way, way excited.
Yes.
So, before we get started, we have a few announcements. So, just as a quick update as to where things are going. So, In Too Deep has started, our brand new D&D actual play, featuring an all LGBTQ plus cast. They are wonderful, and the first episode was chaotic and excellent.
It's beautiful.
And so they started that, and the first episode has already gone up on our YouTube channel. It will typically go up on Thursdays for now until that becomes too much of a problem, and then we'll have to like sort of shift things around. But for now, Thursdays is kind of the day that happens.
Hey, Lucas.
Hey, yes.
What module are they playing?
I knew I specifically chose my words so I wouldn't have to say it.
What
They are
module
playing
are
It's like
they
Deep
playing?
Horizon.
Water
Infinite
Deep
Dragons?
Dragon Heist.
I think you got it. That's it.
I did.
Nailed it.
Yeah,
I
no,
did.
that's it.
There's a story here somewhere.
The story
It's-
is that somebody, I think actually our friend Ray came in during one of the prologue episodes and said something like,
It's like Deep Dragon Water Heist
yeah,
or something like that.
Deep Dragon Water Heist. And then
Water Dragon Heist.
And now there's been every possible conceivable iteration on that. And now I don't know which one's
That's
the real
awesome.
one anymore. So
Yeah. Rosita has my favorite one right now in chat, which is heist, 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 heist.
Fair.
yeah, that's the one. That's the one. But anyway, yes, so that's what they are. That's what they are playing. Of course, Infinite Horizon is back as well. That is also up on our YouTube. Goes up on Fridays. It is also on podcast. That will be up Sunday. That will be up on Sunday. So you can check that out in your favorite podcast location. And if it's not in your favorite podcast location, you can just use the RSS feed and get it. So for now, for a while actually, that's going to be the majority of our announcements, is just sort of like the week's things to come. So until we have anything new to announce, any new projects, we won't really be doing that. But that's going to be a while because we sort of tired ourselves out at the end of last year. So we're not going to do that for a bit.
Cheers.
Yeah.
To that.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh God,
Hey.
it's
Clink.
Think.
Blink.
ugh.
I don't have my usual tea mug with me.
Oh no.
I'm trying to avoid too much caffeine at the moment.
Fair. That's fair.
I do have my tea mug with me. It's gigantic, but it's empty.
Oh, wait.
Uh,
I have one, but it's an old coffee mug from this morning. Don't judge me.
that's I could not possibly, because I too have my old coffee
Nice.
mug from this morning. So,
Yes.
Geek Outs is pointing out correctly that we launched how many shows last year? We launched 4 actual plays last year.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, we didn't know.
I didn't know that.
See,
4?
4. Here's
I
the
know
problem.
you guys were busy, but
So here's the problem with 2020. One of the problems, one of the myriad of
the problem with 2020.
In this essay, I will no.
Welcome
No.
to my TikTok.
No, so the problem is that
topic.
in 2020, because every week felt like forever,
Yes.
it was
But
really
it went
hard.
by so fast. At
It
the
was
same
really
time.
hard to gauge
Yeah.
how long it had been since the last time we did a really intense project. So we ended up doing way too many of them without realizing it, and then at the end of the year going, why are we so burned out? Well, it's that. It's been 84 years.
Years.
Yeah.
3
I
months,
remember when I was
4
young.
days,
Yeah.
59 seconds.
Oh god. So yeah, so that's kind
Those
of
were the good days.
that's kind of what.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just have like sing us a song, you're the... like in my head now.
Koala
For no
is
good reason, but-
bringing back the nightmare fuel that is horses with hands. So thanks for that. We can always count on you for
Wait,
that.
what?
This is another story from a different stream. Koala just
Oh.
speculated, what if horses had hands?
Oh.
And that was pretty much most of it. So, yep.
As in walking on hands.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just
Would their
had
hind legs be feet, or would
Nope.
those also be hands?
also
hands.
hands.
Yeah, yeah.
These
That's
hands got to be built, you know. They have to be ripped hands.
You have like you are maxing the reps on your hands.
Yeah.
And your finger strength.
yeah. Like in
That
order,
way.
like
Exactly.
you'd have your horse would look like
Horse.
they would look like a person who was doing like the clicker things, right? Like the squeak, like the hand.
It's 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Shush.
No, I can't not see a.
Oh no, Freeman.
Oh
Well,
That's like he's frozen right now, super blurred
The
from
horse
the
is
The horse
hands
like
doing
broken.
chin-ups. Okay, I just.
there you go. You're back now.
That was okay. Good. I don't know how much that
The
you
horses
caught
with
maybe
hands
is
mafia
best,
got
but
to Freeman.
Was it the horses with hands?
doing chin-ups.
Yeah.
With like the frat guy bro tank as well. Just
Yes.
absolutely just mwah.
Yeah. It would have to be.
What pre-workout do you use, bro?
Pre-workout.
Just gains. Gains and grains.
Oh no.
Oh, gains,
I
that's
know.
right. Not allowed to use
That's what the
special
t-shirt
apples.
says. It says gains and grains
Yes,
with
absolutely.
Z's instead of S's.
The funny thing is,
That's
I
what they got.
unironically, one of my friends unironically is that guy. So like, this is even funnier to me. Like,
Bro
so,
horse with hands?
yeah,
Gains
I'm friends
and
with a horse with hands.
grains.
No, just the guy who who likes is always talking about gains and like so, you know.
Yeah, I know a couple of those
Yeah.
too.
So this is even funnier to me now because of that. Well, we
Right.
have certainly
So.
gotten the ramble part down. Let's go into the Mancy. That's not what we do.
No. Wait. Yeah. No. We throw someone under the bus usually, but
We usually
I
do.
mean, it's been a long time. We could change everything if we want. We could change
Yeah,
the
I
whole
think
thing.
we can change the format. So John, what do you got for us?
I knew it. I knew it was coming. I could
didn't-
hear it in your
you got me
voice.
there.
I could feel it coming. Tonight on Ramblemancy, we're discussing teaching TTRPGs and caring for each other at the table. In this TED Talk, I'm not going to do that any longer. It's going to destroy
That was
my voice.
impressive.
Like, hold on.
Just, there you go.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
could be
Oh, I
the-
know. Now I need a pair of glasses
They're my
too.
computer glasses. Block out that blue light.
Mhm.
Oh.
Ra-
The
Everybody,
problem
like-
is it has like a weird glare.
Oh,
Oh,
yep.
yep.
I get a little bit of that with my current frames.
Rainy Keys says, Rainy Mancy, when? You have your own Twitch channel. You can do whatever you want, Rainy.
Anyway, but sort of the idea for tonight came almost entirely from me just saying the words teaching TTRPGs because it rolls very well off of your tongue, and also because I used to be a teacher. And I was like, there's a lot of, and I think often actually about how interesting old man John narration. It is old man John hours. But yeah, no, I think kind of often about the interesting like kind of intersection between a lot of the skills that you use as a teacher, or as an educator, or even just like when you, not even as an educator, but just like in general when you're teaching people things, kind of like when you have to plan to do it in the same way that you do for tabletop RPGs and stuff like Dungeons and Dragons. So I think that was kind of where tonight's topic came from. We were originally like talking, I think, a little bit about like the way that we engage like mentally with tabletop RPGs too, and then of course the evergreen topic of discussing caring for each other at the table. So I don't know. We can start kind of anywhere, but one of the questions that popped into my head this week uses one of my favorite teaching buzzwords, which is scaffolds, which is just a term for things that you give your students, or in this case, like your players at the table, things that you give to help them like engage with the system as they're learning. So like what new player resources or like scaffolds do you guys like to give to new players to help them start? I can start if you want. What you think?
Well, that's actually how I got my start in general. With
Oh, yeah.
when a few years ago when I first became Scriv, all of
When
the stuff
Scriv was born.
when Scriv was born, so long ago. I actually got my start doing introductory D&D sessions and D&D for kids workshops.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so a lot of kids were interested in D&D, or you have parents who have played D&D earlier on, or different types of tabletop RPGs. I'll use D&D as an example because right now, it is the most accessible in terms of just the prevalence of content
Right.
that is out there. However, I have used other systems in these same types of settings. But introducing families to the game, introducing new players to the game, finding different ways to simplify it. So we developed simplified character sheets, used tabletop role-playing games as an avenue for teaching kids storytelling as well. So talking about plot, dialogue, character development, setting. I'm a big old nerd when it comes to stories and folklore and writing and books and all of that as well, as I think a lot of us are. So I was very excited to sort of use games as a way to teach children those different skills.
That's really cool.
I'll stop there.
No, that's really
Yeah.
really cool. No, I remember like back when we were doing like when we were on your channel doing the chill creation stream. Afterwards, we started like talking a little bit about this, and that's kind of what like got us to this topic, because I remembered parts of that conversation, and I was like, you know what? Actually, when John mentioned like teaching TTRPGs, I was like, actually, that's a great topic to have Scriv for, because
I love this topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very interesting challenge for me. And for the kids as well, to try to create these different tools to use. So we used simplified character worksheets. I've got the workshop kind of like plan. It's like a 3-part workshop. And the idea of the workshop was to teach the kids how to tell stories while throughout the 3 sessions they are developing together a collaborative adventure that they then took turns running at the end, at like the culminating thing
wow.
for it. It was
So
a lot
cool.
of fun. I was able to work with some of my friends at a local game store and bookstore in town here, and we've had a few series of that. It was a 3-part series, and we've held that a few times at this point. Obviously not in 2020.
Right.
But the families had such a good time with it. And when it comes to using TTRPGs as even as a teaching tool, but then learning how to teach people how to play the game through different ways, it actually helped with some of the kids' grades as well in school.
Really?
Like reading comprehension, some of the parents, and this is like the best thing for me to hear as a bookworm, right? Some of the parents will say, Tom wants to read books now. What?
That's cool.
They actually want to pick up a book and
Okay,
read?
so Scrib,
That's amazing.
I'm gonna need you to come with me to my old college, so that so you can say everything you just said to my
no.
my then academic advisor, who didn't want me to write a paper about
Oh.
D&D because she thought that was a fluff paper. So
Oh, heck no.
yeah, so if you could
Oh,
just like
heck
whenever
no.
like all like pandemic is over, if you could just like, you know, come, we'll go together,
Yeah.
we'll go up there, we'll knock on her door, be like, "Hey, remember me?" Well, hey. So I've got someone here to talk to you, and you know, it'll be great. It'll be great.
Excuse
It was
me.
great.
Do you have a moment to talk about tabletop role-playing games?
Do you have a moment to talk about how you were wrong? And
Perfect.
and then like
It was great because like Lucas graduated the year or like wrote his paper, I think a year or two before I wrote my paper also about D&D. And I just like to think that Lucas like
I wanna hear
kicked
about
the
his
door off
papers.
of its hinges. And then I just marched through
I
afterwards and got to write
cannot
mine a
have been
couple
the
days.
first person to do
Nice.
that. I cannot have been the first person.
Well, what year was this?
This was
not asking you to like age yourselves
no,
or
it's
anything
fine.
like that.
This
but-
was in 2015. Yeah, 2015.
Mine was
okay.
7.
Even in 2015, it still wasn't as
Yeah,
well known and publicized
that's
True.
yeah.
as it is
Definitely.
now. Even
really
in
gotten
like
some
2017, there was a significant difference if I remember right, because I moved
Yeah.
out here in 2017, and it was just continuing to grow. And the people at the bookstore, at the game store that I was friends with, and we had like weekly game nights and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even they were surprised seeing this influx of families and just new people in general, adults,
Yeah.
teenagers, all ages, saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, what is this?"
Yeah.
So they actually ended up increasing their stock significantly that year,
And Geek Out's
just to keep up with it.
And Geek Out is actually making a good point, which is that in 2015 was the debut of Critical Role on Geek and Sundry, and also later
Yep,
that year
absolutely.
wasn't it at the end of that year, was in the summer when Stranger Things came out, or was it the year after that?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
think
I
so.
remember a lot of people
Mhm.
being drawn to it, partially because of Stranger Things as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2016, July 2016.
Okay, so yeah, between those two things, like D&D went, yeah, that
Good call.
exploded.
Who
Yeah.
was that? Geek Outs? Good
Yeah.
catch,
Yeah.
man.
Well, like, and
Context
the
is everything.
Mhm.
Timing is everything when it comes to these hobbies, and the
Mm-hmm.
reception of people to be interested in it, to look at it with an open mind.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the like the other factor to that too is that 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons is the most accessible version of D&D and the most streamlined version of D&D that has ever been printed.
Mhm.
Like,
It is. It still has its. I still don't like all the game design
Yeah.
bits and pieces of 5th edition. So for our Heroes of Iastera campaign, we call it 5e Fusion.
That's right. You were telling me about
Because
this.
we
Yeah.
end up changing a lot of things about character development, about the way we
Cool.
do like combat and stuff like that, trying to adapt it to the play style and the storytelling preferences of the players, some of whom had not actually played D&D before on that stream.
Wow.
Yeah, so trying to change it up a little bit. And I think as time goes on, we'll slowly but surely start to drift away from D&D
Mhm.
into something different.
And I think
But yeah, 5e Fusion, I feel like a lot of games out there homebrew it so much where in some cases it is like D&D inspired.
yeah.
Or you're using the basic framework from a game design standpoint of D&D, but you're not really
Yeah, and actually,
Not
Geek
like
Outs
as written.
is echoing something that you a little earlier was echoing something that you said, Scriv, which Geek Out says, I think there are easier systems to onboard new players than
Yes.
5e, but they've not been the same
Yes.
exposure because 5e has thousands of tutorials and actual plays, everything from how to play with kids to how to play with seniors,
Yeah,
and that's a very good
absolutely.
point. Yeah.
I've actually really enjoyed trying to take some of those D&D families and the friends I've made there, even through work. 'Cause, you know, now it's like, oh, having an office RPG game is not as crazy
Yeah.
or as weird as it once was.
Yeah.
We don't have to be, people aren't as judgmental anymore, which is really great.
I always, whenever that topic comes up, I always remember and cite this one time when I think it was Anderson Cooper who was on like Stephen Colbert's talk show, and he was like talking about like Stephen Colbert's like, so you play D&D, right? And he's like, yeah, I play D&D. And the way Anderson Cooper was like talking about it, it almost sounded like he was coming out as a D&D player because he
Yeah.
was so like nervous
It
and whatever.
feels like that sometimes.
Yeah, but it was so funny because by this point, like, sort of the first wave of the explosion of D&D had already happened.
Yes.
So it was very clear that he was
The
like
awakening.
still kind of like feeling it out in how like he was very kind of reticent at first to like get too into it. But so it was so funny to watch. But yeah, but no, it's
It ends up
super
being
common
so
now.
freeing when you, because I talk about it freely at work now.
Yeah,
I'm this close to having an office game put together.
I
I
believe
don't
in
know
you.
if it'll be D&D.
Right.
So talking about other systems, I hope I'm not rambling too much.
no,
There's no such thing.
Thank you.
Okay.
There's no
I
such
get
thing.
excited about these things.
Go
It is
for it.
3:30 a.m. where I am, and I have like my second
Oh.
and third wind. So I'm like, I'm awake now.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm
Good.
ready to
Let's
go.
go. Let's
That's
hear
good,
And
it.
'cause
John,
I'm-
your cat is adorable.
Thank you.
I'm just sitting there like I wish I had a little.
She
here with
woke
me.
up from her nap and then yelled at me, and I was just like, I know what you want.
Oh,
Do you want to say hello to your adoring fans?
I'm an adoring fan. Hello.
Oh.
Oh, cuteness overload. You cannot ramble too much on Ramblemancy. That is the show. Thank you. Okay, well, you said I could, chat. So
Go for it.
I will not take any responsibility for it.
Perfect.
I was told I could by responsible adults.
Well, adult.
So one of my absolute favorite RPGs is actually Dread.
Ooh, yes. Okay.
Mhm.
I've always wanted to
Horror,
play.
scary, spooky stories. All you need are the bits of paper with some character information. You don't have stats. You have a Jenga tower.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who have not played this game. So I love the narrative storytelling aspect of tabletop RPGs. Yes, I like using spells. I like feeling like a cool, awesome hero and fighting monsters and saving the day and swashbuckling. Woohoo. I like that. I absolutely do. But I love the story. I love the character interactions. I love seeing people get into character. I like just being able to witness that and facilitate that and let them take the story and make it their own. That's one of my absolute favorite things about tabletop role-playing games. So using something like Dread, which for some groups, I will actually introduce them to that first before D&D.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because the focus is purely on the role-playing and telling a story. It very much, for those of you who haven't played it before, it very much has a feel of sitting around a campfire and telling a ghost story, or a story about werewolves or vampires or weird things, cursed lands in the middle of the woods, whatever it may be. And if you guys are critters, and I'm way behind, so let's not have spoilers. I kind of took a hiatus when I was taking a hiatus from a lot of different types of content over 2020. I only had so much mental energy for things, as we all experienced.
Yeah.
But I know Geek and Sundry also did a broadcasted Dread game there, like a series.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with it. Obviously, they have some more production funding than the rest of us would have, but the feel of the game I find very, very enrapturing. And I like to use that as an intro to tabletop role-playing games because you don't have as much math. You don't have as many other mechanic, nitty-gritty types of things. It really is just an opportunity for you to get accustomed to being a different character.
Yeah. That's interesting. I've never heard anybody talk about that as like a game that they've used to introduce people to TTRPGs, but it makes sense.
If
Like
they have absolutely no
Right.
no understanding, like they don't, if people are coming into the hobby and they've already played or been exposed to something like D&D, like Pathfinder, Honey Heist even. I love how it's one-page RPGs. I want to just work my way through those. But even that, then you can find other avenues to teach this style of gameplay to people. But if they're coming in bare bones, and it doesn't work for everyone, some people will be more comfortable with role playing than others, especially if you come from a theater kid kind of background, which I don't really.
Yeah.
No. So when I first started, improvising and role playing was very uncomfortable for me, but I loved it. Because it was telling a story.
Yeah.
So there's always some level of performance there.
Yeah. Geek
But,
Outs.
I consider that a great system, a very simple system to get people into it. The Jenga tower creates the tension. You don't have to have tension created through the role playing itself. It is driven. In a lot of ways, that would be more plot driven than character driven.
Yeah.
In terms of the style of play, which again helps new players because they don't have to be the ones to make the decisions. They are reacting most of the time.
Huh. Yeah.
Take some of that pressure off.
Yeah, you know what? I've never thought about that way, but you're right. And now I'm like really wanting to just like get a group of people who've never played TTRPGs together and just like slap a
Right.
Jenga
See
tower
how
in
it
front of them and
goes.
just
And the Jenga tower is a brilliant gimmick too, because just playing Jenga without any D&D context is nerve-wracking enough as it is.
Legally distinct wooden block tower. It's
Yeah.
Jenga with feelings. Oh my gosh, it is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Geekouts, how dare you
That's so
come
good.
for our feelings this way with the Rip Alpha.
True.
Oh,
Masterpiece
oh
alpha.
boy.
Uh,
Moving past that.
just gonna move on right past that one.
Oh man, I need a nap.
Yeah.
I reach for my off-screen beer.
Yeah.
Cat butt.
Do not
butt.
self-medicate. I am not condoning that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Yeah, I like Dread. I love Dread.
I've wanted to
Matt
play.
Key voice. Oh no.
Oh no.
Stop. Okay, bye guys. I'm done. Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye, Scriv.
All right, good to see you, Scriv.
Yeah, no, like
Up and away.
I'm trying to think of like other ways that that I've seen, because like I know a lot of people have the story of how they got into TTRPGs, which is like you know somebody invited them to play D&D and they're like, this is pretty cool, and then right, but like
Yeah.
for me,
If they have the right group.
right, exactly, yes, that's very important.
I think that goes into the second half of the rambling as well.
Right, exactly. But like for me,
I really
like
want that
the
beer.
way that I came into TTRPGs actually wasn't through D&D, at least not directly, right? Like I came through, I became aware of the concept through D&D, which is like just seeing the books, and I think at that time it was third edition, right? So seeing the books and like paging through them because
Yeah.
like and looking at the art and looking at all the stuff that was in there that was pretty
The
cool.
art is beautiful.
Yeah.
I have some old advanced D&D
Oh,
books
yeah,
on my
yeah,
bookshelf
yeah.
downstairs. One of the parents actually in the family group said, "Hey, I've got all these books. Do you want them?"
Ooh,
And
yeah.
you want to? I insisted on paying him something for them. I wasn't just gonna take all that hoard of treasure.
Those
Yeah.
gems, right?
you know,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like the old artwork, and it's just
But yeah, like
it was cool.
most of my early experience, like I was so like I had like a very like I think standard way of coming into TTRPGs. So like I've been sitting here as you've been talking, trying to think of like how did I get taught TTRPGs? Trying to like remember that, and like honestly, it was mostly just our friend Henry, who just like during a period of time when we were like kind of just after high school, he would just on like a weekly basis just sort of be like, hey, here I found this new TTRPG from this like indie site that has just a bunch of them, free RPGs or whatever.
I love indie games.
Yeah, and we just like played a whole bunch of them. A bunch of them now are like bigger games than they were back then. Like I think there was I'm trying to remember. I think is it Fudge that became Fate or was merged into Fate or something like that?
Okay.
I think. I don't remember.
I don't know.
I remember Fate had a precursor. I can't remember what it was
I think it
called,
was
though, 'cause
Fudge.
At that point, I didn't play it.
Yeah, I think it was Fudge.
I hope it was. That's perfect.
Yeah, and
It's
so
a great
like,
game.
so yeah, and like, so I remember that one, and like
Fudge to
many
Fate.
others. Like, I think we probably even played Savage Worlds at one point.
Fudge of Fate.
There you go.
Fudge of Fate.
Sorry.
My
That-
fate will be fudge later.
I hope
just
Fudge
a
is my
divination.
fate.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a good fate.
It's a recipe card that you find in a divination wizard's tower.
Yeah.
Like they just really liked
Ooh.
confections, like baking.
Yeah.
Sorry, world building.
Oh my gosh. Oh no, this is so
Oh,
good,
good.
because in Iastera we have a pastry mancers guild.
Ooh, that's excellent.
There needs to be fudge.
You're welcome.
The classic GM scrambling for notebook. Like,
I have like 3 of them within reach at any given point, but
And
never
then
a pen.
and now right. It's one or the other. You can never have both.
yeah. Yes.
Just, yep.
Fudge of Fate. Okay, go.
Um,
We are getting horribly off topic. So you were first introduced
No, I was just trying to think of like
to
most of
TTRPGs.
most of what I learned back then was
Just the ones
through
within reach.
most of what I learned back then was through like less crunchy systems. So like that's kind of been my intro, because I think the thing that I bounced off of D&D with is because it was third edition, and third edition is notoriously crunchy, and
super crunchy.
I couldn't do it. And like anytime anybody tried to explain it to me, like my brain, I just started hearing like static. Like I was just like,
Yeah.
like
Well,
just
even,
air horns going off whenever somebody tried to explain D&D to me back then.
absolutely. Well, even with 5th edition, if you're not familiar with that style of game, or even know what TTRPG stands for to begin with, then that can absolutely be a hurdle to overcome, because you have 7 dice, all of different shapes and sizes, and you use them for different things, but half of them you never even touch unless you're a spellcaster, right? So I was actually asking some of the parents, and I kind of stepped back from writing articles consistently about this kind of stuff over 2020, because 2020, but I'm hoping to get back into it soon. But I was looking more into what are those hurdles? What are the things about tabletop role-playing games that people find strange or intimidating? What are the things that prevent someone from playing? And the mechanics, the crunchiness, all the weird rules that you can't really learn until you play are absolutely one of those factors for a lot of people. Along with the accessibility of the materials as well, because the 5th edition player's handbook reads as if you should already know what it is. It's not that WotC has gotten a little bit better with some of the other stuff that they've put out there since, but the player's handbook expects you to already know what the game is.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really help. So the types of materials, how the information is presented, just the system itself to an unfamiliar newcomer. And then if you don't know someone, you kind of need to know someone.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
You need an on-ramp. You need a guide.
Definitely.
Of some sort.
Scaffolds.
So those 3 things.
Right.
Yeah, scaffolds. Is that the hand gesture we're using?
Yeah, I mean this is my Lev Vygotsky jazz hands. Like
I like jazz hands. I dig it.
Gemini Lightning has subscribed for 12 months, a whole year.
A new subscriber. What? That's so cool.
A whole
Congrats.
year. Gemini.
Enjoy your little galaxy roll logo.
Cheers, friend.
Yeah. That's right. You get
logo?
the new logo.
Those are so cool.
Right? Yeah. Our all of our subscriber badges were designed and made by at Meaning of Night, Olivia Adams. She's excellent. She's very good.
Those look so neat.
Yeah. That is the 1 year is definitely my favorite one of all of them. Like they're all great, but that's my favorite.
I like the scroll as well.
Yeah.
I've got a little scroll emote on my channel too.
Yeah.
Oh, these are beautiful. Props to the writer or the artist.
Yeah.
Olivia's great.
Cool.
Geek Outs,
Love your
I am
artists.
in flagrant violation of whatever treaty exists
What?
in those regards. I have 4 notebooks within easy reach, 6 of them within my room. I also have approximately 30 writing utensils within reach of my desk.
Oh my
I'm
God.
sorry. How do you
have a
have
favorite?
that many of them? Like how have they not
that's
just
not even the
Whoa.
question.
No,
It's not a matter of how.
No, I'm
Wait,
saying but how do you still have that many? Is my question.
So like I alter. It depends what I'm going for. I color code my planner with different things. So like I have these are my favorite.
Than I am.
These are my 4 favorite pens. They are
Okay.
some
You are at the level that I aspire to be at, but every time I try, I'm just like, but I don't feel like using green. I want to use orange. And I just go off of whatever I'm feeling like that day.
Purple pen is like my generic thing, but for my calendar specifically, I
purple.
have 4 different colors. So like it's so good. It's like dark enough that it's not like, you can see it easily, but it's also
Nice.
interesting.
It's like a nice deep purple.
Yeah, good deep purple.
Colors make a difference.
They do.
Absolutely does. I've got a blue right now.
Yeah. And then I have several
we're
black
talking about
fine liners just lying around. I have a 2B sketching pencil. And then I've got
this is actually really interesting. So I've noticed that a lot of people who enjoy writing, journaling, whatever, will gravitate towards, as Geek Out said, either the utensils or the journals. Usually not often both. So for me, I've got a thing for writing journals. And it was actually really nice when I actually started doing more of these all ages RPG things and the story writing and all of that, because it gave me something to use up all of the unused journals on my bookshelf for. Because I see them and I'm like, oh, it's beautiful. Oh, think of all the possibility. There's nothing more beautiful than an empty notebook. It could be anything. Oh, I'm like really red now.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Weird.
The camera's trying
It
to figure
wipe-
out the notebook and your face, and it's trying to figure out how to.
I'm turning violet. You're turning violet, Violet.
turning violet.
Oh, I love it.
But then I would have these journals that are beautiful, and you notice how this one hasn't really been used yet. I'm saving it for actually not even fiction writing, but I'm always afraid that whatever I wrote would not be worthy of like the prettiness and the quality of the journal. It's like I don't want to ruin it. I want to save it for something really good. But then I realized it doesn't really matter. Whatever you write, as long as you're writing something, that's a success.
My favorite
Part of the
professor.
process.
True. Oh, it's got a clasp too. I
It
love that.
does. It's a very satisfying
I love
clasp
that.
too. Like listen to that. That's some ASMR
Ooh,
stuff. Right
nice.
there.
Nice.
Yeah, the one that I'm using for fiction writing right now has this cool little like
I want to just go get my journals and share them. It's a different topic.
We'll have a Ramblemancy where we just share journals and we do show and tell with journals and utensils
I
and
don't even know where mine are. So
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even count my sketchbooks within reach. Let's not do that.
Oh, see, my art form is words.
Mhm.
I am not as much of a visual artist.
I wrote first and
I
then
do
about
some
a year and a
good
half
stick
ago.
figures. I don't know if you guys. So for one of the charity streams, Jen and I, who plays Marlo and I as Jera, we did a Wednesday evening stream where we just doodled,
nice.
Ooh,
drawing for charity, drawing for a cause, and we would get requests from people in the chat. So if they donated, whether it's $1 or however much, they could request a doodle. She had these beautiful digital art kind of drawings. They were fantastic. They were lovely.
Oh
This
my
is
god.
my level of artwork.
Yes. No, that's so good, Scriv. That's
I
so
posted
good,
them on
Scriv.
Twitter. That is my artistic ability.
That's
That's actually more than I expected from myself.
that's about where I'm
You-
at too. So I feel you.
It's my doodles.
You are always capable of way more than you think you are. Like
We are our own worst critics.
Mm-hmm.
Worst enemies, harshest critics.
I think this is a good time to go into the second half, like you were saying before, Scriv, which is
Hey.
about
Back
like,
on track.
and I think mostly, so we're looking at like basically the idea of like caring for our fellows at the table, but I think it's a good way of examining that through the lens, hopefully, of like new players, right? Like how to make sure that the people who come to your table want to come back not only to your table but to any table. Because that was one of the things that we were talking about before. You mentioned, Scriv, about how like, sure, people have that origin story of TTRPGs, but only if they had a good group.
Yes. I would say that I'm no mathematician. Take it with a grain of salt. But in terms of just my anecdotal experience, I would say that there are about as many people who I've met and spoken to who had a good experience that first group, that whether it's the other players or the GM, as not, and who ended up being put off from it for a while before then dipping their toes back in the water.
Yeah.
So
It has a lot to do, I would say, with honestly session zero character building. You're setting expectations, you are setting the tone of the table, of the story. If you do, session zero is just as important, if not more important, than the journals full of notes you have for your world. And I will stand by that.
Yep. Absolutely.
Until the day I die. put it on a gravestone or the
Yeah.
urn, whatever it is. But you could have the most amazing world, the most beautiful world, colorful characters, all of that, amazing story and plot lines. If you screw up your session 0 and you aren't able to help your players find an avenue into that world that feels natural, that feels good for them,
Mm-hmm.
it
Yeah.
write a book.
And that's a
You
really
know?
good that's a really good point, because not everyone who bounces off of their first time playing bounces off because of like a toxic or problematic group. Sometimes it's just they just didn't have what they needed to be,
That's a different
pulled in,
topic.
you know?
Yeah,
Sometimes they just
that can be the case as well.
mm-hmm.
So that session 0 is also where you can try to mitigate some of that potential or unintended discomfort, toxicity, uncomfortable topics as well.
Yeah.
So there are a few things that I like to do for our groups where a lot of people have safety tools.
Mm-hmm.
It can take any form that you want. If you're playing virtually, as most of us are now, it could be putting a certain code word or letters, sequence of letters, whatever it might be, a certain emoji into the chat to say, this is good. If you're doing that check in with your players, like, hey, how's everyone feeling with this? Hey, okay, or not sure, or on the other end of the spectrum, I don't like it. So you can have different tools like that in whatever way makes sense. I also find that it helps just to have that conversation during session 0 in character creation. So I'll use Iastera as an example because it's the most recent example I have, where we would talk about first, what kind of stories do you like? Before I even finish developing that campaign arc that they are currently on, what kind of stories do you enjoy? Do you like mystery? Do you like exploration? Do you like dungeon delving, monster hunter kind of thing? Because if you're not writing a story that your players will enjoy,
Yeah.
then who are you writing it for?
Mm-hmm.
I also do agree that if you are, again, this is from a GM standpoint, maybe we can talk about player perspective later on.
Sure.
But from a GM standpoint, you want to enjoy the story as well. If you're writing something that you wouldn't enjoy, your heart's not in it, and it's not going to be fun for any of you. But if you can find that kind of compromise, then I find that that really helps. And then part of that, the other side of that coin is, okay, so those are the themes you like. Those are the things that engage you. What are some topics that you don't want? What are some topics that you don't like? I've had players who are not comfortable with any sort of or certain types of misfortune or violence, injury towards children
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
for very reasonable
Yeah.
reasons. I've had others who are very uncomfortable with themes of losing limbs, and that was just something that really bothered them. The list goes on and
Right.
on. Those are just very simple kind of examples right now. But if you have some of those conversations up front as a group too, that helps to build that trust. And that helps so you are all on the same page moving forward if you have the opportunity to do so. So this is helpful in a scenario where you know the players and you have the opportunity to talk and kind of get to know each other a little bit. For Iastera, the players had never really interacted too much all together as a group. So we tried to have a couple of conversations and Zoom calls. But if you're doing a pickup game at a convention,
Right.
which a lot of people do, that's not going to be as easy. But if you can have, even on an index card, a quick little pitch. Hi, I'm Scriv. Hope we have a good game today. Here's like a quick description of the adventure. How do you guys feel about that? Here's my GMing style. Give them a little bit of insight into who you are and what kind of stories you like to tell. But still have that. Still give people that opportunity to say, okay, this sounds great. I don't like these kinds of themes. Are there any topics that people would feel uncomfortable with? Here are, we'll do our best to avoid those, but then here are some safety tools that we can use in case we need to course correct as we go on.
Right.
There are a lot of ways to do that. It can feel very intimidating because it can be a new thing to incorporate for a lot of players, for a lot of tables and groups. But if you can kind of give it like a little index card, for me, taking notes helps. that can go a long way.
I want to go to the chat real quick because I saw some good stuff people were saying here. Geek Outs was saying that Session Zero is also a great opportunity for the DM/GM to learn what game the players want to experience. Because my kobold barbarian barber isn't going to be a good fit for a noble political intrigue game.
I want to hear more about this barber.
I know, me too. That's
too.
what
I agree with your point. I completely agree. Political intrigue you need a certain type of cast for that kind of story, for sure.
Koala says, the first time I played D&D, the DM got in a call with me and was like, what's the most important thing to you in the story, or what's your favorite thing about your class? And stuff like that allowed them to create a world or scenario where everyone would get to do something they thought was super cool. I love that. Okay. So that actually brings up another thing, which I think is an important reason why sometimes somebody who's new might bounce off of the game, is about setting expectations, right? Because one of the things one of my friends and I have talked about at length before is that different people play TTRPGs to get something different out of it, right? Like different people play for different reasons, like that there are different things that people want to get out of the experience.
Completely.
And if you have
it's
a group,
simultaneously very social and community based, but very personal at the same time.
And if you have I've been in situations before where I've been running a game and wasn't thinking about that. Right? Like, it's so very easy to get stuck in here and go, well, obviously everybody plays the way I play.
The natural pitfall.
Yeah. And so, and without even thinking about it, without intending any kind of harm at all, I ended up with a really bad situation where the scenario that I put in front of people, like, some people were really into it. Some people were happy with whatever we were going to do. And some people were just not about it at all. Like, it was just not what they wanted from their game. It was just a clusterfuck. Like it was terrible. But like like, so that kind of thing is also an important thing that you can establish in session zeros and things like that. Like that you can establish exactly like what Koala was saying with their DM, where they like asked that specific question, like what interests you, what's the most important thing for you from the story, but also from the game itself. And that's a tough one because a new player might not have the experience to be able to answer that question.
They don't know what to ask.
Yeah. So that's a tough one.
Which would be very intimidating as well. So when I first started, I had a few sessions where I was a player being introduced to the game, but then unfortunately, doesn't matter. Neutral. I'm happy with how things went, but I fairly quickly ended up being a forever GM.
I feel you.
But I remember being a new player, having not played any TTRPGs before. Not being a theater kid, not really. I had like a couple of drama classes because I enjoyed it, but I was more of like, I enjoyed writing the script and helping with the production versus being the one on stage. So I was very quiet. I was treating it like a puzzle, almost. Like, how am I going to solve it? And I was very intimidated. I was very hesitant to really ask a lot of questions or say, I like this kind of story. I like that kind of story. Because I was of the mindset of, I'm just here to learn. I've got my half-elf ranger who preferred to talk to fish than other people in the party.
Love that.
Because I didn't know what to do. But hey, something weird happened here. We're in a harbor town. I'm going to talk to the fish and the turtles. Surely they've seen something.
The turtles especially.
Turtles know.
They've lived a long time.
The turtle moves. Any Terry Pratchett fans? Discworld?
Oh, yep. Okay. I got there. I knew that sounded familiar.
I just wanted to throw that out there just in case.
That's excellent.
Little nerd drop.
Sorry, I just noticed our Zoom window was like just now. Here we are, like an hour into the show. I just now noticed the Zoom window is not quite in the right spot. It's fine now.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going back and forth.
Yeah. Rose said actually something that I thought was really cool and an important point, which is in one of the campaigns I played, we have the conversation of hurt my character and all his trauma, but don't touch the kid. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's an important.
Or dogs.
Yes.
You don't mess with the
See,
animals.
and that's the thing. Like for me,
cats are included in that.
those are such
cats
important.
Or dogs too.
Those are such important conversations to have, and I think
Mm-hmm.
this is another kind of pitfall that a GM can fall into, which is like I know
Mm-hmm.
that there are many things that like much like any player, I have my like no goes, right? And so like, but for me, it's an assumption, but that's not necessarily true for somebody who's coming into my game who doesn't know me,
Right.
right? So like,
Explicit versus implicit communication.
yeah, like for me,
If
there
you're
are,
setting the stage, it needs to be explicit.
yeah, like I will put like for me one of those, an example of those, and Rose brought this up, is I will definitely absolutely put in my games children in peril. I will not harm them in my games. Peril,
Yes.
yes. Harm, no. Like that's not gonna happen. And so like
You can,
yeah.
yeah. Go ahead. I don't want to
Oh
interrupt.
no, I was just gonna say that like that's just as an example of like one of my lines that's very
Mm-hmm.
easy to just sort of assume like, well, of course that's like everybody believes, but everybody's fine with that. That's how everybody will assume I play because that's how I run my games. But it's just as important for the GM to weigh in on their where they're at with their like their lines, their veils, all that sort of
Absolutely.
stuff. Because
Because
you
there could be situations where the players will go down a path that the GM might not be comfortable
yes,
Yeah.
yep,
with as well.
yeah,
And I've had a couple of situations like that. One in particular stands out in my mind. I don't want to go into detail because it was actually quite unsettling.
yeah,
But one of the players started through the game doing self-harm behavior.
yeah, yeah,
And I was new to the pickup game as a GM at that stage. So we had to scale it back, find ways to pull back from that, ask a lot of questions. Other players around the table were becoming uncomfortable as well. But eventually we were able to get to the point where they were able to have a conversation in character about why would you do that? Are you okay? And I think we were very lucky that it ended up going in that direction.
yeah.
And I hope that didn't bother anyone in the audience. You know, I'm not going into detail.
Yeah. Well, and that's
But it was one of those scenarios where you don't know what to do.
mm-hmm.
You don't. And I had
Yeah.
mixed ages in that group
Hmm.
as well. So we had to handle it very, very carefully. You don't want to just do the yes and in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yes ands, no buts, both sides of the same coin. You have to find ways, even if you don't want to railroad, if that's against your GM philosophy, there's a time and a place for railroads. And sometimes you do need to redirect that course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and so like, just sort of to pivot a bit, because I think there's so much stuff that we could talk about as far as like the different ways that like you can like right now, well, mostly we've been focusing on like the session zero, like bringing people in, but also even like during the game there's stuff that you can
Yes.
do. And like one of the things for
I think
me,
we talked about this during that week.
did
too.
we
I think a little
we
bit.
must have, because this like some of these like yeah, so like things like
The self-care for heroes.
that's right.
Mental
Yes.
health
Okay.
heroes.
That's right.
Yeah,
yes.
we
yes,
talked
yes,
about
yes.
this.
This specifically, yeah.
It's all coming back to me now.
I'm there. I got it.
It was so long ago.
But like, just even as like a player at the table, like there, one of the things that I see most often, that I have seen most often, because in our home game, mine and Freeman's home game, like we've brought in several people who'd never played before into that game, and for a while, like the thing that I see most often is like the other sort of like veteran players at the table will like, for at least until the new player starts kind of getting their feet under them, they will like
Yeah.
lean over and kind of make sure that like just like with a kind of respectfully just sort of making sure and like saying, okay, so like clearly being able to like detect when they're like confused, when they're like coming up against a wall, and being like, okay, so one of the things that you do in this instance, you can do, not like telling them here's what you should do strategically, but like just here's how the
Yeah.
game works, right? Like just sort of like leaning
some
over, just like a
options.
casual like here's some things that you can do, and like I think that kind of thing is something I'd like to talk about, which is the kind of stuff that you can do once the game has already started, like during the game.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite like scaffolds that I ever made for my players as a as a GM, like in this kind of instance, was it was for D&D 5e. I was playing with a group of people who had all never played before, and so what I did is I took markers and pens and just made it was a group of a bunch of teachers too, which was very fun. So
Colorful
I
markers and pens.
yeah,
Room full
no,
of teachers. That is so on brand, and I love it.
I caught shit for that from all of them, but like they also used them, so like
In spite of themselves.
yep. No, like what I did is I took note cards and I wrote out like the action economy and like the things that you could do in different colors on a note card,
that's
like in
good.
hand, and gave each of them one of them, and then
Handouts.
like on the yep, and
yeah,
on the table,
it works.
yeah, no, handouts work. And then like I had others with like examples of actions, examples of some bonus actions that I knew some of them could take, and I gave those to all the players, so like they had a set of resources they could look down and be like, what can I do right now? Oh, I don't know. Oh, I can do these things. These are the things that I can do on my turn when it comes around. So
yeah, I'm amazed remembering D&D, some D&D games we've had. I'm amazed that I can sometimes remember the other person's abilities better than my own. Sometimes, because then I'm in the heat of the moment and I'm doing something, I completely forget what a barbarian does all of a sudden. Big hit with big sword. But then I'm like, but then I can remember like how many feet a wizard can cast something, what the radius is or something like that. So I don't really understand that.
Whoa.
And that's the thing.
That's impressive in like a weird kind of way.
I have an encyclopedic knowledge of anyone else's characters but my own.
And it only happened maybe once.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense though, because like if you think about it, when it's your turn to do something, you're like, okay, what are my options? What's going on? When it's somebody else's turn, you can like actually be like, you're like sitting there, you're like listening, and you're like, okay, that's cool, that's interesting, you know.
You're not in the moment, you know. True.
Yeah.
I also like helping. I like when people help add up ridiculous numbers of dice, like D6s or D4s. I love that little bit of teamwork too.
I hate math.
Me too. Absolutely.
Hot takes.
Yeah.
Don't like math.
I like it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dan.
Kids are better at their math in public with all their dice rolls than I am.
Yeah.
My single favorite thing, and this has a little bit to do with like, you know, putting a map that everybody can look at in the middle of the table, but like, and that was my favorite thing about running D&D in person was rolling out the dry erase grid that I had drawn the map on.
The hex maps.
Yep.
You know what I truly miss about running D&D in person? Rolling out the map and then watching my players do this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, and some of the kids especially. Because I've DM'd for kids, I've DM'd for older players, whatever. Go with the all ages approach. But some of the kids too will always try to peek behind the screen. If like we're on a break, going to get snacks, go to the bathroom, whatever it is. And I would sometimes slip monster pages in there that I had no intention to use.
Oh. That's mean.
Good.
I love it.
That's great.
Hopefully none of them are listening. None of them should be awake at this hour. But I put some stuff in there. Throw you guys off.
That's good. Good misdirection.
Don't look at presents early.
Yep, it's true.
Don't ruin it.
My algebra. No, who was it? It was my algebra 2 teacher in high school.
I appreciate those of you who love math. Just looking at the chat really quick.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of math, but I am endlessly appreciative and impressed by people who are good with math.
Yeah.
Because it is not a strength of mine.
Yeah. Gemini was saying this, and this is just to go back to what I was saying earlier about just sort of helping other players, is that you could say what you could do and not what you should, and stress that it's their choice that matters more than either options that they're weighing. And that's a very good approach. But also, like, Freeman, what you were saying about, like, that's incredibly useful. Like, the idea of, like, other players at the table helping you add, especially if you're playing a spellcaster. All those dice.
That's overwhelming.
Yeah, all those dice.
Goodness.
And actually, even as a barbarian, Freeman, like, I know you have so many, like, little, like, floating modifiers and things like that, like...
Yeah.
Lots of bonuses.
Yeah.
I know. It's like... I'm kind of glad I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm a little glad about that, I'll say.
But I actually also want to say that that's what you were saying, Freeman, about like the ways that like you remember people helping each other at our table. It made me realize that like one of the things that I do, and I don't do it like, it's sort of unconsciously that I do it, but like I make sure to like at my tables, I don't have. So there was a period of time during the beginning of this this explosion of D&D where there were some TTRPG bad words that started floating around, right? There was metagaming and railroading, and I forget what the third one is, but it's something like
Rules lawyering.
Maybe it must be like
another one.
it might have been that, yeah, where like people, they started getting thrown around for everything, and you'd see it all the time, and people were doing their best to combat the like, no, that's not metagaming, or it is metagaming, but that's not a bad thing, or the place where I stand on it is like, you literally cannot not metagame. Like you have to. You can't get away from it entirely. But I go a step further at my table, and that is that I don't actually. The only time I care about metagaming is if it's bogging down what's happening, if it's preventing forward movement. That's the only time I care about it. After that, other than that, talk about whatever you want. I believe that your characters are competent. Like, I believe your characters are competent, and you can talk about these things. And that the group discussion and consensus on what to do and like what actions to take, even in combat, represents their competence.
Yes, absolutely. So that kind of leads into a homebrew sort of thing that we do for our games. I don't use initiative order.
Okay.
I don't. I'll do like a on average initiative versus the adversary or group of adversaries, but we basically go into team tactics.
Ooh,
oh, interesting. Okay.
Especially virtually. So that's something that we've had to adapt without a battle map. When you're not all sitting around a table and you've got some fun, amp up music in the background to help people stay engaged. Because kids, teenagers, adults, everyone has a limit to their attention span. And if you have to go one by one on a Discord or a Zoom call, with the monsters or adversaries interspersed in there, it just is a drag.
Yeah.
So depending on the size of the group, I'll have all of them either collaborate together, which also helps with that mentoring, with that coaching, to figure out what their strategy is, depending on the situation. Or if it's a larger group, like some of the family, kid and parent groups that we have, I'll split them into like initiative teams. It's like, okay, you guys are grouped together because of how you were standing and what you were doing. You guys are grouped together. Discuss amongst yourselves how you want to handle this.
Interesting.
That helps with more of that player to player coordination, collaboration, coaching as well, I think.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
It's been an experiment.
Yeah, I've never really thought about that, but there are lots of elements of like D&D specifically, probably other TTRPGs, that are like weirdly isolating.
They are. You're in a group, but it is as if you're playing a video game online, like we were talking about Borderlands earlier.
Yeah.
You're in a team.
Yeah.
But you are your own character, and usually you're operating as a single character. A whole team of heroes, of individual heroes versus an adventuring party.
Right.
So we've been trying to find ways that help with the flow of the storytelling, but also help with looking out for players at the table to shift and change the mechanics in such a way where it'll actually complement those goals a little bit differently. And we're still figuring it out. This is a relatively new thing that just a few months ago that we've started doing. Well, actually, at the beginning of lockdown, when everything had to go virtual. So you had to change the way you played and the way you looked out for your players.
Yeah, that's... Wow, I never really thought about that. Like, I mean, there's don't get me wrong. Like, there are lots of things that I've like thought about as far as like the flaws of like D&D 5th edition specifically, but I never considered how like so much of it encourages, in spite of the fact that it's all about the party, it encourages that sort of isolating sort of behavior, like initiative order and those sorts of things. That's really cool. I'm gonna have to sit and like
I
homebrew some
appreciate how
stuff.
supportive the chat is. I hope I'm not talking too much, you guys.
No, we specifically told like
You
John
guys are so sweet.
like John said before we got started, like whenever we have a
Yeah.
guest, we try to let the guest
Mhm.
go.
You guys did warn me of that.
Like no,
I'm still
hands
gonna
off. Let the
feel
guest go
like
off.
a little guilty.
No,
but
don't even. We're here all the time. You're here tonight, so like,
That's right.
This is fun. You conveniently chose a topic that I get really excited about. I have a whole. I like to joke with people and say I've got a closet in my house full of soapboxes and like certain types of topics that I get really, really excited and fired up about. There's a lot of them.
oh yeah.
You're just
Whole
like
room
you're
full
just
of boxes.
you're just gonna have to send us the list of soapboxes so we
Oh,
can just
no.
add them to our list of Ramblemancy topics to call you back for
Yeah.
periodic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to come back. This has been
Yeah,
so much fun.
definitely.
It's been so much fun having you tonight. Like
Yeah.
I genuinely have just
Aw.
enjoyed like listening to you talk about it. You're very
Oh,
eloquent
don't
in the way you
encourage
talk
me.
about it. I
Um,
am a relentless cheerleader of the people that I'm
It's true.
around. It is like
You guys are awesome. This
half
has
of
been
my
a lot of
personality.
That's actually extremely true.
Yeah.
Extremely-
Very much so.
oh my gosh. Yeah, no, like that's
Mm.
I'm trying to think of like other ways that like during games that like to encourage. See, I'm on the record many times as saying that I love new players, particularly if they've never played TTRPGs before.
Yes.
Like at first they'll be sort of tentative and they'll be like feeling it out, but once they push through that, they are some of the most like inventive and just creative people. Like new players will do things that I'm
Yeah.
just like, I never thought of that before.
Absolutely. They're unbiased.
Yeah.
They don't have the same preformed notions
Yes.
that other people, those of us who have been playing for a while, and I haven't even been playing nearly as long as some other folks out there have been playing. I started in 2015.
Mhm.
2015 was the first time I had played D&D, and that was my first TTRPG. We call them Turpigs. That was my first Turpig.
Yep.
Turpig.
Turpig.
I like to
Yes.
pronounce acronyms as if they were words.
Good. Yeah.
My favorite ones to do that with are like the acronyms for men loving men and women loving women, like MLM and WOL.
Those are very good ones. I love that.
Oh, that's great. It's like a mlem.
It makes me
When a
laugh
cat
every
goes
time
mlem.
every time I see
Yeah,
it because
oh my god.
that's how in my head that's what I
Huh.
do. So yes.
Woola. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Back on topic though.
I'm sorry.
So
I
what were
very
some
much
of-
appreciate all of the love in chat. Thank you.
Oh,
Y'all are very supportive.
John, we love you.
So-
Oh, that's great.
Here's what I have learned from chat tonight is
Two
that
bards in chat tonight.
when
Hey.
just regular Gemini Lightning is extremely supportive and very, very just the self-appointed unofficial rule of lore hype man. With a little bit of inebriation, Gemini goes to Gemini times 5,000, and it's incredible to watch. That's what you're viewing right now. That's what
Amen.
that's what you're seeing right now in chat. So
You have a great chat. You guys are a wonderful chat.
They truly are,
Just
always.
watching
Really
you
are.
guys. Really.
Y'all are so supportive. It's excellent.
yeah,
It
I
gives
love an active chat. That's a sign of a good community
yeah, and
because that's one of the things I like to see as well. Because people in the chat, they're engaging with this, but some of them are also having their own like conversations
that was
on the side too.
so
I love that.
that was a turning point for us. Like
We're
sometime
talking about you as if you're not here.
yeah,
Chat.
we're talking about you. See the
Turning
how the
tables
yeah
around.
how the turntables.
No, we're observing and commenting on you.
Um,
Can I say that I'm a psychologist in my day job? Legit.
excellent. See, no, but like this is actually like legitimately like a turning point for me at some point late 2019 when all of a sudden I noticed in our chat that we had people like just greeting each other and like having their own conversations unrelated to what was happening on stream, and I loved that.
I love that.
That when I
That's
first
how
saw
you
that,
know
yeah,
that you have a community.
absolutely. When I first saw that, I was like, oh, it happened. We
Yep.
Love the tables. I love
Yeah.
it.
But yeah.
But some other things about helping players in
Yeah.
game. So I'd really like to bring up some of the stuff that we did during that tool creation.
Yeah,
the
please
charity
do.
stuff.
Please do.
So for those of you who don't know, we had some on the Scriv channel on my channel, I guess, Scriv the Bard. That's me. Hey. But we did leading up to the holidays a week of charity. We called it Scribbler Hug because over there, the community, we call ourselves the Scribblers. But we had a chill creation evening, and everything was about raising money for mental health organizations. So we wanted to do self-care for heroes, self-care for adventurers. So we and I had such a good time putting that stuff together with you there, Luke, as well. We had all these different flashcards that you can use as maybe as a player, as a GM, whatever, for inspiration of different things you can integrate into your game for both the players, for the in-game characters as well, to kind of have those touch points to check in with the party, see how everyone's doing. So I think when we are playing these games, especially a long-running campaign, pacing can be a challenge sometimes. Whether in person, virtual, whether you meet once a week, once every few weeks, however long. And it can be easy to forget sometimes that even though you as a player leave at the end of the day, you go home, and you're hopefully in your comfortable home environment, you sleep, you eat, you wake up, you come back a few days or a few weeks later, and you're back at the table. But your PC has just crawled themselves bloodied and torn up out of that dungeon, and now you're getting ready to hop back into another dungeon? Y'all need a break. Downtime was one of my favorite things to use as both player and character care and check in. So I love the ability of, or the opportunity rather, for players to think about what would their characters do to unwind and to de-stress. Because a life of adventure is a heckin' stressful life. You're always on the road. You don't really have roots that you're setting down. You may fall multiple times in battle and then just with magic come back. Think about what kind of toll that takes on someone's mind.
Yeah.
So having downtime, having those campfire conversations when you're sharing watch throughout the night, being able to sort of check in with each other both as players and in character. And that can be a little bit advanced for people who are new to the game.
Yeah.
I find that giving them the opportunity to just think about, okay, my what was that character? The barber, the barbarian barber, right?
Oh, that kobold
Yeah,
barber.
Yeah, the
That
kobold
I'm talking about.
barber. What would the kobold barber do if they're stressed or right after a battle? How do you recenter yourself? How do you ground yourself, or do you not? And does that have an impact? Again, maybe I'm going too deep into it, but I think that as an introduction to that kind of role playing and table care, table health, I guess we could call it, would be just to have that initial question. What do you do to unwind?
Yeah.
What do you like to do after a battle?
You know,
Eat food, take a nap.
this is sorry, I didn't realize that I had a designer, like a game designer brain, but it's coming out now. And now I'm thinking about like, so remember, like in the earliest editions
You're awakening your mind.
the earliest editions of D&D, like first edition, it was expected that you play it with, like, you have to have two other unrelated games in order to play it, right? Like I think one of them was Overland Travels or something like that, and whatever. Anyway, now I'm thinking of like, what could we do to like bring something? I'm not asking this as a question we answer right here. This is just where my brain went while you were talking.
Oh no, we're gonna solve it right here, right now.
Which is like, how
do
could we
this.
bring things like
Let me drink my non-existent coffee.
Yeah, I'm just posing this as a sort of a general question because I know John had something to say, but like, but like the idea of bringing in other games as like mini games to D&D, like for instance having like
I love that game.
having like
or
a
idea.
something similar, not like Dread specifically, but like something like that as an element of your D&D game, right? And you could do the same thing for downtime, have like a downtime mini game, kind of like what we designed on that Shell Creation stream where we talked about like the exchange of questions, right? Like and talking about feelings and backstories and things like that, like that kind of thing. Anyway, this is just where my brain went of like.
I'll send that to you if you guys want to share that with your followers.
That would be
in the
pretty
context
cool. Yeah.
Of this. I'll send you the PDF.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll clean it up and make sure the formatting is all nice.
Geek Out's dropping the Dune reference that I think only I get.
I know the words.
Yes.
But I don't know what it is, and the only reason I know is because I've been watching a lot of Actually lately on Dropout. So it's the only reason I know.
Thank you so much for that reference.
I love Dune. I've been
wanting to do a reread. I have them. I have them
Mm.
on bookshelves downstairs.
I
want to do a reread before the whole live action thing.
Yeah. John, you looked like you were going to say something while Scriv was talking about
I was rambling.
Oh, it was good. No, it prompted me to like have several thoughts just about times that's played out kind of in my own games. And the first one was like when you mentioned watches, one of my favorite moments, I think in the home game that I was running recently was when the party had adopted, I was running this, the party had adopted this, this person who had been recently turned into a vampire.
Whoa.
And they had slain the person who turned her, so she was no longer like bound to anyone's will, but they essentially walked out of like slaying the bad, like the one that they had come to kill, who had been like sending hordes of undead to assault a nearby town, and this person just like popped out of the ground and was like, what's wrong with me? And
that's gotta be traumatic.
Yeah.
Your first moments of life or unlife as a vampire. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
That's
good. I had that. That's a thought that I had. I was like, what would it be like waking up?
Can you imagine?
With the memory. Yeah. Yeah.
If you have all of your memories. Because that, depending on what kind of vampire stories you read, you may or may not have all of your memories. There could be some sort of weird mental transition as well.
Yeah.
I can't come up with a good example right now, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it that it's out there somewhere.
But yeah, there was this amazing like, because vampires are awake during the night, and so like the party's keeping watch both on their new friend and just like in general for dangers in the night. And there was this amazing conversation that played out between the barbarian and her about like this strange like, the feeling that there was something that was part of them, like for the barbarian his rage, and for the other person like the curse of vampirism. That's cool. Like this thing that felt like it was part of them but not really, that they had to like deal. It was amazing. It was so cool. This amazing narrative moment that
introspection is my favorite food. I love it.
It's my favorite food group too.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I
don't think I've ever said that before.
Introspection is my favorite food.
Right now, listening to that, that's what I'm feeling.
I need a t-shirt that says that.
Yeah.
Like, I need to send that saying to
Dread
Singles.
is my favorite food group.
Rule of Lore merch coming soon to us.
Yeah.
Oh
no, did we lose Scriv?
Delicious.
Oh no.
Oh no, we got you.
Is it me? Is it me? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, you're back.
Ah!
It was only not even a second.
But yeah, no, the other thing that I thought of is, and Lucas has talked about this before.
At the end of our stream. Oh no.
Oh.
Am I good?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you're good.
I'm good? Okay. Oh, this is scary. We had an uncomfortable moment on our stream last night at the end of the Iastera thing, Gobos of Iastera, where my computer just decided to shut off and restart and update. So it updated, and I did it again this morning, but now I'm a little jumpy.
Oh no.
I'm a little jumpy. So just in case we drop the call, I love you guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
I want to at least say that in case the computer decides to rage quit, like the barbarian it sometimes is. It's very petulant.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Hopefully it's.
Oh no.
Okay.
No,
okay. Well, I just wanted to say that in case I disappear.
Yeah.
Let's continue the conversation as much as we can.
The DC is now up by 10. No, I'm kidding.
Oh no. Oh no.
We
No,
can
no,
wrap up
no.
shortly, but the other thing that I wanted to mention was just like the other big like moment, like the big downtime moment after like, talking about adventure or self-care. Like, after weeks of like hunting vampires in this like far northern town that was dark all of the time and dealing with like these complicated messy family issues between like a family of vampires who were bound up in like the strange machinations of eldritch deities, and all of this, like at the end of it, their wizard pal, like their powerful NPC wizard pal, after they had solved all of these crises and like um their powerful wizard buddy just cast Feldwick's magnificent mansion, and then was just like, whatever you want is in this place. You have all of tonight
That's
to
amazing.
just do what you want. And all of the NPCs were there, so like I was involved in that way, and then I just set all of them loose in it, and it was like a solid 3-hour session.
That's cathartic.
With no stakes.
It was just everybody just narrating their own little scenes that took place at some point during the night in a non-linear fashion. So
Cool.
That's them having to build their refuge.
Mm-hmm.
So for IRL, right? We all need something to go back to take comfort in, whether it is a place, whether it is some sort of activity that you do. You need a refuge, something to ground you. It's a resiliency, mental health kind of factor. Absolutely, the players should have something like that. I love when parties have some sort of home base.
Yep. That's one of the things I love about running a sci-fi game, right? Is because that's sort of built in, right? You've got your spaceship, that's home, right? It's one of the things I looked forward to the most about running Infinite Horizon is that like when we were planning it, is just the idea of like it's like having the party like the party camp, right? The campfire and those moments around the campfire, but it's just with you wherever you go, and you can have it at any moment because you're traveling in that space. It's basically like
that becomes your haven.
Exactly. It's one of the things that I love about about that. Sorry, Rose is yelling at me because she says you have your spaceship sometimes, Lucas. Yeah, that's right. Because I definitely.
Oh no! What happened to the spaceship?
Oh, it was.
Did you lose the spaceship?
Lose is a strong word. It got abducted. So
It was stolen.
It was stolen. They got it back last episode.
It's more complicated by the fact that the spaceship is a person.
Yeah, well, connected to a person.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh no.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I think I'm back. I think I'm back. Okay.
All right, you're back.
Okay, I'm back.
That exact thing was happening to me at the beginning.
The astral projection is getting a little choppy here, folks.
Let's not forget.
Concentration is.
Yeah. Oh man.
I need to roll my concentration checks.
Yeah. But I wanted to go back to something that you said earlier, Scriv, because you're absolutely right. Having that downtime is extremely important. It's one of the reasons why it's actually been super easy to build it in directly to Infinite Horizon, because like periodically at the end of an arc, we'll usually separate like arcs by like a single episode where they just sort of like unpack everything that happened. Or like deal with or address things that they hadn't gotten a chance to while they were in the heat of the action and things like that. It's been pretty easy to build that into Infinite Horizon, but I've been guilty in the past of definitely just putting one crisis after another in front of the party. That's something I've definitely been guilty of doing before, because like you said,
That's
exactly
the traditional thing.
And not only that, but you're also absolutely correct when you said that like when you finish a session and you go away for a week, you live a whole week in between those sessions. It's easy to forget that your characters didn't. And yeah, you're absolutely correct in that. So yeah, that's an important thing to keep in mind as well, for sure.
Another John has arrived.
There's
Hello.
a balance.
Hello,
yes. Another John.
Oh man.
I know that's not your name. It's John Numa.
John Numa. Yeah. Welcome, John
AKA
Numa.
another John. But your own individual and unique John.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Wave.
Remember, there were 5 different Johns between the baritone and bass section in my college choir, and
Whoa.
we had to just figure out different ways to address all of us as long as we were in Nordic.
Yeah.
Like for some time,
That's
for
awesome.
yeah, for a couple of us, it was saying just, there was one guy who just like always went by his first and last name together, like that. It was extremely amusing, but like everybody just called like just did that.
Yeah,
And then there
it's
were
like
like
on my freshman year on my floor, there were so many Bens on my floor alone. And so we had bearded Ben, we had B humps, we had missing Ben because he was never around. There was religion
What?
major Ben. There was God, we had so many of them. It was
Wow.
yeah. There were so many, but
Huh.
we had different ways of distinguishing all of them.
That's fantastic.
It is
I
definitely
kind of want to have a whole RPG party of people with the same name.
That just makes me think of Muppet Treasure Island when they're doing a roll call, where it's like,
Yes.
old Tom, hey, really old Tom, hey, dead Tom.
that reminds me of those games of Among Us that we played where we all named ourselves Drac.
Yes.
These
all-
variations on Drac.
Yeah, the all Drac game of Among
With
Us.
the Among Us game. Oh my
Mhm.
god. All
Oh,
those
that was just
so many
hysterical.
shenanigans happen in Drac's absence as well. Drac.
Yeah.
I know you're either sleeping or getting ready for another one of the million streams that you do.
God, I hope you're
because
sleeping.
Drac
Hey,
lives off of US time zones.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think Drac
Does.
sleeps. So,
Drac's a Time Lord.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
part-time
Drac
Lord.
sleeps. Citation
Yeah.
needed.
But we always, Drac, you always come up in conversation.
It's
See
true.
how much you impact this community? I'm saying this now, even though you'll probably never hear it or see it.
It's okay. We'll just clip
But-
it and send it to him.
True.
Yeah.
Geek
We
out
are
still
all Drac.
We are
in the
all.
chat. We are all Drac.
Gemini, thank you so much for the bits.
Thank you.
Gemini says, Scriv return guest when? She's brilliant and unlocking all of you to be more free.
Oh my gosh.
It's true.
You
Honestly,
guys are so sweet.
honestly, it's
I
very
love to
true.
know
Like
that.
as you've been talking, like going off on your rambles, like as you're talking, I'm like, oh, that's a good point, and then my brain goes off over here. And
I know.
Yeah, go ahead.
I haven't been speaking much. It's because all these doors are opening up in my head in a million different places, and I'm just like, oh, whoa, whoa.
That makes me think of Nightmare Before Christmas.
It's in my head.
Doors
That's
with
just in my head. My head is a Nightmare Before Christmas.
That's another quote.
There we go.
that needs to be written down.
That one definitely
Sounds
goes on a shirt.
Not bad, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me write these t-shirt ideas down. Like, hold on, we need more merch.
I'm proficient in rambling,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, that
Gains
really
and
is
grains.
gains and
there was another one that I
That was just the same. Feels like so long ago. I'm kidding.
There was one earlier that I wrote into the story that I've been working on today and yesterday that a character said, and I was like, I need a sticker of this, and it just said even witches need Wi-Fi, and I was like,
Nice.
wow.
I like that.
Yes.
Yes.
Even witches need Wi-Fi.
That's good.
How would you do a D&D equivalent of Wi-Fi?
I a little bit.
I mean, you have sending.
Yeah.
And you have message spells, so you don't really need Wi-Fi, really.
I feel like
You
it's
could've-
not a very big step in
Yeah.
in world of D&D, right? To go from
No.
message exists and sending exists. What if we just
Yeah.
created a constant network of that? And I feel like that's not a big step in D&D. So
I did it.
That would be part of your world building.
Yeah.
You did that, John?
I started to do it actually. Like you haven't had much of an opportunity to use them because we only played like 3 or 4 more sessions after you guys ended that arc. But I gave you guys all basically cell phones that they can use to message each other that are like networked to each other. Like the vampire that I had made friends with in the town was an artificer, and she had made these.
Love artificers.
She had made basically these little crystalline like hand terminals that you could use to text people.
What? That's
Yeah.
so cool. That is way more sophisticated
Also-
than what I gave the kids game. I gave them parchment that when you write on one, it shows up on all the others. And then they have linked sending stones, basically. But they are clever because they found out that it still works in the Feywild. And this group, they call themselves the Lucky 13. There are 7 of them now. It's a bit of none of them watch Critical Role. So it was like my critter brain went, oh my God, it's like the Mighty Nine.
And they're like,
But
what's
it's
that?
the Lucky. the not so lucky 13. But they've been in the Feywild for about 2 weeks. But they found out that those pieces of parchment work for now. So one of them draws the map. So then all of them have it, and they kind of mark it like where they are if they get separated.
Yep.
Just been kind of cool.
Also, Koala casually with the Fantasy High reference in the chat.
Yeah, I go make a check to build a cell tower out of wood. Don't mind me.
Yeah. No, I was literally, before Koala said anything, I was thinking about, you said crystals, John, and I immediately, my brain went to Dimension 20's Fantasy High,
yeah.
and like,
No,
oh yeah.
I reached right into Brennan Lee Mulligan's IP and just plucked that out of it.
Yeah.
Like,
But you can do that.
Yeah. See,
because magic.
One of my favorite, I've even been clipped quoting this on this channel before, but one of my favorite quotes from Matt Colville is a writer or a DM is only as good as the obscurity of the content from which they steal.
Oh,
That's
ooh, I don't know how that makes me feel.
Called out for me anyway.
Yeah.
For me, it makes me feel called out, but also
like
enabled.
it. Yes, absolutely. I am purely homebrew as a DM, as a GM. But yeah, just like with any sort of work of fiction, you're going to be inspired by other things.
Yep.
I'm a huge Terry Pratchett fan.
Yeah.
Guess what one of the factions in Iastera are called? The Unseen.
Perfect. Yep. See,
I'm owning it.
I just see the way I get around it. The way I get around the more obvious references, the more obvious things is like, oh, well, it's just homage to my favorite properties. Like, I'm not stealing this. It's just I'm paying homage to my favorite properties.
Exactly.
I'm just honoring the things that I like. That's my excuse.
Out of love.
My pedantic, hair-splitting excuse. I
like it.
All right. Well, as is tradition on Ramblemancy, it's 10 minutes past when we're supposed to stop. So it wouldn't be Ramblemancy if we didn't end at least 10 minutes late. What was our record? Like, we got like 20 minutes past once?
I think 20 minutes or so past is our
Yeah.
record.
I see you, geek outs.
Yeah. So, thanks everybody for coming and hanging out and chatting with us. Scriv, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fantastic.
Yeah. So, just some reminders to everybody. If you're not already in the Discord, you should be, because Freeman, tell them why they should be in the Discord.
Well, you can go to our Discord and you can go to our channels. You can yell at us all you like. You can go to our general chat. You can get a good morning in the very beginning of the day. I love that. Check in, share your memes, tell us what you're up to, what you're cooking. Memes, dreams, and D&D schemes.
Memes, schemes, and D&D.
Oh my gosh, it rhymes. I think we have another.
Who said that?
Wait,
who said that before me?
I said something similar to that, but I don't think it was that specific thing.
Memes, dreams, and D&D schemes. I like it.
What did I say? I'll think of it.
Put that on a shirt.
Keep going.
And that's there was something else about the Discord. I'm sure there was that what you
I don't know. I was just hoping you would tell them about anything about the Discord.
That's our Discord. It's a beautiful place.
I want to join the Discord.
Yeah, you should.
Please.
I'm joining the Discord.
I thought you were there.
Was I already? Have I not?
I don't think so. But
I guess not.
I don't think I am. Yeah. Send me a thingamajig.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes.
I love it. It's the first thing I check in the morning.
Me too.
I have my general chat open, and I'm ready to see who's because the thing is, by the time I wake up, everyone's already been doing stuff because most of everyone either gets up before I do, or there's like a time jump. People are already up doing things, so I already get like a whole bunch of good mornings. Get to see people chatting. I love that. I love that
so
too.
Awesome.
So join the Discord. It's beautiful.
Ninja Penguin, I totally understand having a cluttered Discord server tray. Fully understand that. You're under no obligation to join us, but if you would, we would love to have you.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. The other nice thing about that is if you happen to be subscribed to Twitch right here, and you're in our Discord, you also get access to some of our lower tier Patreon rewards. So some of you who have gotten gift subs recently, as our chat likes to throw out like candy, so it's very likely that you have gotten one. This is your time. This is your time to shine. Jump in that Discord and go ham, because there is a whole backlog of content in the oh my god, Rose.
Oh, thank
Oh
you
my
for
gosh,
gifting us
what?
sub.
Rose, thank you.
I
There
got
it
gifted
is.
a sub.
Yeah.
Okay. Full disclosure,
Mm-hmm.
that's hilarious because I was sitting here as I'm looking over here. I'm about to subscribe to your channel.
Oh my god.
Then Twitch tells me purchase not complete. An unexpected error occurred. Rose, you are the unexpected but very appreciated error.
I love that.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? Okay. I don't know. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was so very kind.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Rose.
Here to Gus,
No.
bro.
Yeah, so like you can get a hold of some of that stuff. Some of it is very actually similar to what you do, Scriv, which is our tabletop tool chest, where we have
Love that thing.
sort
That's
of
a great name.
yeah, that was John.
Yep.
That was all John.
Of course, naturally.
Yeah. So the tabletop tool chest is where we will every 2 weeks we have a specific topic that will just sort of give a variety of little like inspirations for your games, both as a GM, for player backstories, for world building. They even work as writing prompts.
That's awesome. I like that.
We are working on trying to find a way of making them more broadly applicable to other things besides just GMing and running and playing tabletop RPGs.
Yeah.
But we're kind of working on that right now, so that is part of the discussion. So yeah, you have access to a whole backlog of those, like a whole year of those.
I think there's nearly 20 of them, spanning genres from like fantasy and science fiction and
That's
horror
fantastic.
and like modern fantasy, cyberpunk,
All kinds
like
of-
spacefaring fantasy. Like there's so many genres that are represented, and things like anything from adventure hooks to like NPCs that you can pluck out of there.
Yeah.
There's so many
And
beautiful
we're
stories
actually
to be
about
told
to
out there.
tackle
That's
something
cool.
new.
Oh yeah, that's right. What are we doing? What are we doing this week? What are we doing this week, Freeman?
This is going to be weird Western adventure.
that's
hooks.
right, I
That's
forgot.
right. We're doing Weird West.
And
Yeah.
we've never done Weird West before, so
No.
we're.
Ooh,
I don't know. I think
what? That's
it was-
so cool.
Wasn't my idea. I think John or Lucas, you guys said
Was
that.
it,
I was like,
was it
holy.
Olivia?
Maybe it was
a
Olivia.
Maybe it
Might
was a
have been Olivia.
combination.
I don't
Because
know.
it was definitely not me.
I think it was Olivia. I think it was Olivia.
I was like, wow, how have we not done that yet? So that's what we're working on
That
for
sounds
this next
so
coming one.
cool.
Yeah, so that's stuff all stuff that you can get if you're subscribed right here on Twitch. I won't draw this out too much longer with our end of stream announcements, because most of you already know what they are. But the Discord is just our like the first place where new information comes out. So like if there are announcements, things like that, that's like the first place we go to. So it'll be the place where you can most quickly get any new news about what we're doing, information, that sort of stuff. So yeah. Scriv, if you would like to tell everyone where they can find you generally.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So, hello everyone. Apparently my internet connection is unstable, so I'm going to do the best I certainly can. Yes, I am Scriv the Bard. You can find me at twitch.tv/Scriv the Bard. I usually stream twice a week. Tuesdays are Chill Creation, where we do inspiration, game design. This Tuesday, we're working on some one-shot frameworks, just doing the basic plot, story maps, I like to call them. Next week, probably going to do some NPC creation as well for one of the first big bad reoccurring villains within Iastera. So that's going to be fun. We like to talk about our respective campaigns in the chat as well, and I'll share various stories too. So it's just kind of a fun collaborative creation game design type of stream. And then Thursdays, every other Thursday, is the Heroes of Iastera D&D 5e Fusion live streamed campaign. On the off weeks where we don't have the campaign, I'll have some guests on the channel, or I'll do some gaming as well. Last week played some Stardew Valley for the first time, and I loved it. And we decided that we were going to make that little farming village canon within Iastera.
Ooh,
we're gonna
that's so
we're gonna try to
cool.
port it. So the characters
Yeah.
that we have there, I'm playing. My character in Stardew is a duck Aarakocra. I'm calling it an Aarakocra, but it's a duck kind of character named Lenore. So there's going to be a Lenore the duck Aarakocra somewhere in Iastera now.
That's so
that's
awesome.
going to be a fun sort of challenge. But aside from that, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I haven't been as active on Instagram, so forget I said it. Twitter, Discord. There's an Iastera Discord as well. And I do have a lot of articles and content on scrivthebard.com. Many of those articles actually cover a lot of what we're discussing today. I haven't written lately because I've been trying to meter my the pressure I'm putting on production, because work has weirdly got busier in the middle of a pandemic, and I don't know, it's weird, but it happens. It was kind of to be expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's where you can find me.
Perfect. And also, for those of you who are not aware, Drac from our very own Infinite Horizon is in Heroes of Iastera.
Yes.
So.
Drac plays Aorad, a Warforged monk.
Ooh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
One
we've
of
done
the
a bit of home brewery as well.
one of the 300 million places you can find Drac on Twitch.
Drac is omnipresent.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Scriv.
Oh, you guys are awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for coming by, for hanging out, and just more generally for being excellent and wonderful. So we will hopefully see you on Tuesday for Into Deep, our Waterdeep Dragon Heist campaign. Yes,
Nice,
Rose,
nice.
I saw your challenge. I did it correctly.
Well done.
And so yeah, but if not, we will see you the next time you decide to come roll with us. Good night and good zone, everybody.
Bye, everyone.